Okay, everybody, Mark Burgess here, Big East Bass Fishing. Today, I want to give you my spin on a video that just kind of hit the bass fishing world here within the last week. Specifically the one from Jacob Fouts, okay, Elite Series angler, 2 years in. I believe right now just entering his third year. I found out about his video, and I've watched it twice actually, through Randy Blockett. He had an interesting take on it. So what I'd like to do is give you my perspective on it. I want to tell everybody my story and how it relates to what Jacob has to say, and my own personal situation with leading up to the Elite Series, fishing on the Elite Series for 2 years, and since then. I also want to play a little bit of devil's advocate with you. I want to bring a couple things to the table that haven't been talked about on the side of BASS, okay, where they're coming from, based on my experience. Okay, so let's get into it. So, I mean, everybody, a lot of people know I've been fishing my entire life. My earliest memory is when I'm 4 years old, fishing for stripers and blues in Buzzards Bay with my dad. Spent basically my whole childhood and teenage years commercial fishing for striped bass, blues, weak fish, that kind of thing, you know, in the salt. The only freshwater fishing we did was trout fishing in the spring when trout season opened up in April, something like that. So then I found out about the freshwater side because my dad owned a tackle shop, bait and tackle shop, for like 50 years. And I started to talk to those guys that came in and saw, you know, the baits, and that's how I learned about tournaments and Bassmaster. And eventually, you know, led to a boat, a couple of aluminum boats, and then a glass boat, and then jumped in with both feet. My wife and I joined the Bass Club in the early 90s, you know, started competing at the club level, and then some bigger tournaments, the Bass Federation it was called then, not the Nation as it's called now. So, and that led to the Opens. Fished my first professional tournament in the fall of '96 on Lake Hartwell. Caught one bass, but I was in the area where the tournament was won, and I actually, you know, did see some fish in there and you know, was kind of clued in, but I just didn't put it together. Just didn't have enough experience. So anyway, so that led to, you know, a career fishing the Opens. Some FLW, the initial season for the Everstarts. I was a paid angler for Skeeter Yamaha, and you know, that led to a position in sales. As with, you know, a lot of my sponsors back then, I had just phenomenal sponsors. You know, Skeeter Yamaha, Shimano America, Minn Kota Humminbird, all the Pradco brands, Yum, Bomber, Booyah, and just to name, you know, a few there. So that led to me in the middle 2000s, fished, was a sponsored Yamaha angler on the FLW series, 06, 07, in 08, had some health situations come up. Minor setback, really made things a lot better for me. Had a couple of stents put in, so stents as they call them, and qualified for the Elite Series in 2008. Fished 2 seasons on the Elite Series, 2009, 2010. So leading up to that, I will tell you the most money I ever made personally were during those years when I was fishing professionally. Okay, now I'm not talking, I've been self-employed my whole adult life. I've had several companies that I've built from the ground up and ran and sold and whatnot, and you know, they did millions of dollars in sales. did very well, both of them. So, but that my personal income that I took from it. Okay, when I was fishing, it was the most money I'd made personally. Okay, now to be honest, most of that money came from the sales side, not from tournament winning side. Okay, so now the Elite Series, you know, they paid $10,000 to 50th place. I was fortunate to get several checks of that caliber. But the model was very, very confusing, you know, where people think, you know, you can make money, make a living from the tournament winnings. No. I spent $75,000 a year, including the year we went to California. Okay, so I spent $150,000 on the Elite Series in 2 years. If you look at that model, 8 tournaments, if you cash a check in every single one, say minimal check, 10 grand, 80 grand, okay? It cost me 75. And most guys, it was closer to 100 in expenses, because I camped, and that cut down on a lot of expenses. So that it's just, and no one, I mean, not even Kevin Van Dam, you know, the Iconellis. I mean, I'm just throwing out a couple names, you know, successful pros. They didn't cash a check in every event every year. Okay, if you got fortunate and you made a couple of top 10s and won one, a top 5 in there, you could do pretty good. Okay, but still you weren't lighting the world on fire. Okay, so you win one, 100 grand. Okay, bonuses, incentives, add another 15, 20 grand on top of that, from my own personal experience. You know, so yeah, I mean, that's not too shabby. You know, $1.50 up maybe to 200. I mean, okay, that's cool. I made more than that prior to the Elite Series, personally. So you have to have another form of income to make it out there, so sustain that lifestyle and continue to be on that level. Okay, so you needed sponsors, support, or another gig, you know, that possibly tied into the fishing industry somehow, or something that was completely opposite that was you were able to do when you weren't competing. Okay, but fishing on the Elite Series takes a lot of time. I mean, it's not just the 8 tournaments. Okay, there's a lot more that goes into it. So that's where I can kind of, I mean, I feel for Jacob. He's telling the truth. He's right on the money. Okay, and he's not alone. There's a lot of guys have been. I can name a bunch, too many. Okay, and that's a tough road. That's a real tough road to follow. If it wasn't for health concerns in 2010, I would have kept on going. But those health concerns were serious, and I needed to take care of my health so I could take care of my family. So I wasn't focused on looking for sponsorships going into the 2011 season, you know. And when they called me up, I mean, you know, I couldn't pony up the deposits for the entry fees for the Elite Series for 2011. I was more focused on getting healthy, which I did, thankfully. So that's pretty much my story, how I got there. The side I want to talk about, though, is from bass. My interpretation, bass has always been, as far as I can remember, all about providing the platform for the individual to create their own brand. Okay? Completely different model from FLW or MLF, where, you know, they brought the sponsors to you, you got on a sponsor team, they paid all your entry fees, you had a truck, a boat, and you were able to keep your tournament winnings. Okay? Completely different models. Bass, always about letting you have the freedom to create your own brand, promote your own sponsors. Okay? If it like, I'm just going to say, if Kevin Van Dam or Iaconelli, and again, I just throw out those two because they're the most well known and they're very successful. If they didn't cash a check in a BASS tournament, were they able to get to their next tournament? Were they able to get home? Of course. That was not the side of the bread that was butted for them. Okay? That was just a platform. To them, the finish, the points that they received for the finish were more important than the money, because making it to the Classic is the benchmark, okay? Your career is really viewed on the number of Classic appearances and how well you do in the Classic, obviously. But they look for Classic qualifications, okay? But the money, if they didn't get a $10,000 check, no big deal. That was the platform. All their support they have, all the sponsors that they have are because of that platform, because of that visibility, what it allowed them to do. And that was, back then, there was no social media. This was all working with outdoor writers, working outdoor sports shows, magazine articles, television. It weren't live streamed, okay? So they filmed a lot of these things. So if you made, the Bassmaster TV show, I mean, that was just, that's money in the bank. And the accomplishments that you had on the tournament trail to get to the bonuses in your contract and so forth, okay? So for a Classic, qualifying for the Classic was a bonus. Winning the Classic was, of course, a big bonus. Top 5 finish, a win, those kinds of things. But the money that they received for the actual finish didn't mean squat. I mean, I'm not poo-pooing a $10,000 check, okay? The value of a $10,000 check for me was a lot heavier than for them, okay? So, and a lot of pros fish for the $10,000 check. To go out on a limb and fish for the win, especially back then, was really, really risky, okay? But if you didn't need that check, think about your frame of mind. Fishing from your gut, fishing your instincts, just rolling with it. Going with, I'm going to get 5 bites today, and those 5 bites are going to be winning weight, okay? Not like laying up, and taking an extra shot, just to get there to get a check, okay? 2 completely different mindsets, okay? So Bass has always been about providing an opportunity to build a brand. That's where Jacob Fouts missed that in the beginning, I feel, okay? And I'm not calling him out. I feel for him, and I'd love to talk to him more about it. So he knows now that's what he needs to do. And he's well on his way now with the last several videos that he's posted. I'm going to go ahead and try to put the link to at least one of those videos with this video. I encourage you to take a look at it, okay? The landscape is completely different now. The competition is better than it's ever been. What we all wanted for the sport all these years that I've been in it, the future of the sport, the youth, I mean, all the time spent, high school program, youth program, it's paid off. It's paid off. And with the technology that we have now, with the videos, everything online, and watching guys fish, they're good. They're real good. I mean, I personally know high school anglers that I mentored that went on to be successful college anglers. Fishing now opens in the Elite Series. Okay? The learning curve, very, very flat for them compared to what it was years ago. So that's what Jacob has to do. That's what you have to do if you're an aspiring professional angler. The competition for sponsors, the competition for views, to have a successful YouTube channel. It's not easy. It's really not. You're competing against a very high caliber of people, young people that are putting out phenomenal content on a regular basis, which is very important, but they're backing it up with their tournament results, okay? And you've got to bring all that if you want to compete today. It's a lot more than just catching bass. What he says in his video is what we always said, and I've actually communicated this in seminars to like hundreds of kids in a high school room interested in a career in fishing. Don't worry about sponsorships. Catch bass. The rest will take care of itself. Back then, that was true. You still have to catch bass now, okay? But now, you better have like an amazing social media presence, to back it up. So, that's what I got to say. I'd love to talk to you more about it. Certainly ask me any questions, reach out, and look forward to hearing your thoughts on it. And I'm going to try to bring a little bit more about this in the next few weeks as well. So keep your eye out for those videos. But again, you'd do me a huge solid, huge favor if you could follow Big East Bass Fishing with Mark Burgess. Like it, follow it. Subscribe to it, whatever the platform. I'd greatly appreciate it. All right, so thanks for taking your time out of your day to listen to this, and we'll talk to you soon.